Hi, this is Mr. Nazarian. Our lesson objective today: I can fluently multiply multi-digit numbers using a strategy that I'm most successful with. It's 5th grade standard, numbers base 10, B5. So today we're going to look at a multiplication problem that I actually gave you last time at the end of the lesson. It's 342 times 16. We're going to look at this three different ways. We're going to solve this using three different strategies. They're most recent ways that we've solved these multiplication problems, and we're going to see how they're related. So the first one is using the standard algorithm. So we're going to take 342 times 16, and we're going to kind of quickly move through this because this is a review from yesterday's lesson. So 342 times 16, first we start off in the ones place, right? So we start off with the bottom factor in the ones place. We multiply it by the other factor in the ones place. So 6 times 2 is 12. We carry the 1. 6 times 4 is 24. We add the number that we carried, so that gives us 25. Carry this 2 over here to the next place value. 6 times 3 is 18, plus the 2 is 20. Okay, so we're all done with multiplying with the 6. Then we move over to the next place value in the tens. And because we're multiplying in the tens place and not the ones place, we put a 0 here in the ones place. So we have 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 4 is 4. And 1 times 3 is 3. So that tells us that 10 groups of 342 is 3,420. This number here tells us what 6 groups of 342 is. Now we just have to add them together to get 16 groups. So 2 plus 0 is 2. 5 plus 2 is 7. 0 plus 4 is 4. And 2 plus 3 is 5. So the product of 342 times 16 is 5,472. And that was using the standard algorithm. Now we're going to look at it's actually the first strategy that we used, and it's using the area model. So remember, as a reminder, and again I'm going to move through this one kind of quick, is that we take each of those factors and we break them down into place values. So this 342 is 300 and 40 and 2, each of the place values of 342. And 16 is made up of 10 and 6. So let's see here. Remember, to find the area of this whole rectangle, that's 342 long and 16 wide, we break it up into these little sections. It's like finding the area of the whole home by finding out the area of each of these bedrooms, and then eventually we'll put it all back together. So the area of this section, which is 300 by 10, we go 300 times 10, which is 3,000, right? And I'm actually going to take this and I'm going to move it down here too. It's just going to hang out here, and we'll do something with that in a little bit. Then for this next section here, let's do it here. We've got one that's 40 by 10, so 40 times 10 is 400. And then this section, which is going to be 2 by 10, so 2 times 10 is 20. All right, this next section here is going to be 300 by 6. So 300 times 6 is going to give us, and remember we can do this by saying like 3 times 6 is 18, but one of these factors is has 2 zeros after, right? It's moved over to 2 place values. So 3 times 6 is 18. Whoops, sorry about that. 18, and then again the 300 here moves that 3 over 2 place values, so we move that 18 over 2 place values, and we have 1800. Then for this section, 40 times 6. Let's see here. 4 times 6. 4 times 6 is 24, and one of the factors has a 0 in the ones place, so there's 1 0 there. We move the product over 1 place value. Okay, and then last but not least, we have this section, which is 2 by 6, which is 12. Okay, so, sorry, I forgot to do this. So now we're going to take, so now that we know the area of each of these rooms, if you will, we want to figure out the area of this whole house. We're going to take each of these sections and we're going to put them all together. So we have our 3,000, we have our 1,800, we have 400, we have 240, got 20, and finally we have this small room, which is 12. So if we add those all together, I'm just going to move all this up real quick here. We're going to have 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 2. We'll have 2 in the ones place here. 0, 0, 0, 0. We have 4 plus 2 plus 1 gives us 7. 8 plus 4 is 12. Plus 2 is 14. Carry the 1 over here, and we have 1, 4, 5. So again, the product is 5,472. And the last strategy we're going to look at today is clusters. So remember, the whole idea of clusters is taking kind of a more complicated, bigger multiplication problem and breaking them into easier to work with sections that you can then build on with your previous multiplication combinations. So 342 times 16 is kind of hard to do in your head, right? But 342 times 10 isn't so bad, because remember, anytime we're multiplying by 10, we're just moving over the other factor. We're moving it over a one place value, right? So we're taking 342 and we're moving it over one place value, which means that the 2 is in the ones place, it's in the tens place, right? And there's nothing in the ones place. So a lot of times you hear, you add a 0. Again, we're not really adding a 0, but as far as visually, you see a 0 after the number of the factor that you just multiplied. So that one is pretty quick to do in our heads, right? And then take a look at this. So now we know what 10 groups of 342 is. We just need to know what 16. We need 6 more groups of 342. Well, even 342 times 6 is kind of hard to do in your head, right? But 342 times 5, if I just asked you what 342 times 5 was, that might be kind of, a little bit of a challenge to figure out, right? But if I remember the relationship of 5 to 10, well, 5 is only half a 10, right? So if I'm taking, this is the same factor, and I'm multiplying it by these two factors, and this factor is half of that, that means the product is going to be half of the product up here. So half of 3420 is going to be 17, because 17 is half of 34. If you're like, well, I can't figure that part in my head. Well, think of what half of 30 is 15, right? And half of 4 is 2, so together that'd be 17. So half of 34 is 17, half of 20 is 10. So go, yep, okay. So that's 5 groups, 342. And then now I have 15 groups. I only need one more group to be 16 groups, right? Well, 342 times 1, we can all do that. That's just any number times itself, or times 1 is just going to be itself, right? So then we add these up, and that will give us a total of 16 groups of 342. So 0, 0, 2. 2 plus 1 is 3, plus 4 is 7. 4 plus 7 is 11, plus 3 is 14. Carry the 1, and 1 plus 3 plus 1 is 5. So again, we get the same product using all 3 of these different strategies. Remember, it doesn't matter which strategy you use, as long as we get to the same conclusion. As long as we get the same answer, we're good. So something that I want to show you here is this connection of that. If you look at, for example here, this 342 times 10 when I was doing clusters, that's really, look at this. That equals 3,420. Look at this number right here, 3,420. And we got this from multiplying. Remember, when we were doing the standard algorithm, and we moved over to this one, we knew that we were multiplying by the 10, so we put a 0 here in the ones place, and then we got 342. Look at that. That's 10 groups of 342, just like here. And then you'll also notice that in using the area model, this 300 times 10 equal 3,000. 40 times 10 equal to 400, equal to 400. And 2 times 10 equal the 20. Together, that's 3,420. So again, we got the same answer here. So it's just important to realize and to see that when we use these different strategies, the reason that they work is because they're all connected. We're doing the same thing. When we use a standard algorithm and we go 6 times 2, look at what do we do right here? 6 times 2, right? And then we did 6 times this 4, but it's not really a 40, right? So we did 6 times 40 gave us 240. And 6 times this 300 gave us the 1800. So in each one of these, we're all doing the same things. We're putting groups of numbers, which is what multiplication is. It's grouping numbers together. So we will work more on multiplication tomorrow, and I'm going to have you pick out the strategy that you feel the most successful and confident with. All right, see you then.